Hi.
Hi.
How's it going?
Good. How are you today?
Good. Ready to talk books?
I am. I'm excited.
Okay, good. So for those either watching, I don't think there's very many watching right now, but for those watching later, we are going to talk about some books that you can find from home now through our e-reading services, and we'll let you know which ones they're available on. So yeah, and I don't have hard copies for all of mine either, so yeah. We always like to go kind of at the end, like recap what we talked about.
Oh, yeah.
For anybody that may have missed it. So, and my husband's home today, so you might hear him in the background.
My husband and child are here, so.
I've been used to being like home all day alone, and since he's off today, I'm like, you gotta be quiet. All right. So do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
Yeah, you can go first.
Okay.
So my first pick is The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. And this is by Stuart Turton. It is a mystery that is told from a very unique perspective. It starts out with a very disoriented protagonist who has just woken up in the middle of a forest. He has no idea where he is exactly or how he got there, but he sees a large manor house in the distance, so he gets up and starts to stumble towards the manor. And then as he is going, he realizes that he also cannot remember his own name or anything else about his life. But he is not actually the mystery. He soon discovers that he is supposed to be solving a murder, and he has a very unique time frame in which to solve this case. It does have a little bit of a Groundhog Day feel to it because it does repeat the same day over and over again. However, there is one very important thing that changes each day that does make this a very compelling read. I could see this being a good book for Agatha Christie fans. I love Agatha Christie and really enjoyed the feel of this book as well. It is a little bit of a long book. I listened to the audio, and it's just under 17 hours long. So if you do want something to take up a lot of time, this could be a good book for you. And it is available on Hoopla as regular or audio book.
Awesome. So since you mentioned Agatha Christie, I had, and then There Were None is one of the books that I was going to talk about today, which is, I don't know, some people, I feel like people have either read like Agatha Christie or just have never picked her up. And I finally read my first book by her last year, and I loved And Then There Were None. And I know you are a big, well, you just said you were. But And Then There Were None is about, I think there were 9 or 10 people who are invited to come to this remote island, and then at dinner that night, they're not really sure where the host is, and at dinner that night, this mysterious voice basically tells them they're all guilty of these secrets, and like, you know, the secrets that they didn't want anyone to know, and then someone dies, and they cannot figure out who was responsible, except they know that they're the only people on this island, so it has to be one of them. And then slowly but surely more people like drop dead, and you know, Agatha Christie is, you know, they say the queen of mystery, and like this is no, you know, exception. I think it's brilliant and clever, and it's a quick read. It's not a long book. And it keeps you guessing for sure. I know I can never solve her mysteries. But at the same time, you kind of get to the end and you're like, oh, like you're like, how did I not pick up on that?
Yes.
So that's And Then There Were None, and that's available as ebook or audiobook on Hoopla. And I think several of her books are on Hoopla. And the other one I read that I know is really popular is The Orient Express, which I know you really like, Hilary.
Yes.
And that's on Hoopla, also really clever. So if you want a good mystery to kind of, just a quick fun mystery, hers are really clever and fun to try to solve along with the characters.
Yes, I agree with that. Very fun. Good pick. So my next book is called Heartstone, all one word. It's by L. Catherine White. This is a fantasy novel with dragons and dragon riders and monsters that need to be vanquished. It also happens to be a retelling of Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice. So two kind of genres there that you wouldn't necessarily put together, but the author does a very good job of incorporating both of those things. So if you are familiar with Pride and Prejudice, you may kind of think, well, I know how the story is going to go, which is kind of true. However, you've also got dragons and griffins in the mix. So there are a lot of differences. You're going to have some different scenery. It's not going to be all balls and English countryside. And it is definitely very action-packed. I thought that the world building was really well done and easy to slip into. And I really enjoyed the characters. I was, as a huge fan of Pride and Prejudice, I was delighted to see that the main character, Eliza Bentain, was just as witty and spirited as her counterpart, Elizabeth Bennet, and I thought that Lord Darrell was the quintessential Mr. Darcy. So she really had the characters down. This one is also just a little bit on the long side at just under 11 hours on audio, which that's how I read it, was the audio book, which is available on Hoopla. And it's available as audio or ebook. And if this does sound like the type of book that you might like, also know that there is a sequel called Dragon Shadow that is also available on Hoopla.
That sounds good. Okay, the next one that I have is called The One in a Million Boy by Monica Wood. It's on Hoopla as audio or ebook. So this one, I had to kind of remind myself whose point of view it was told from, because I was rereading the summary and I don't know, different summaries kind of make it sound different. And I almost think this is a book that's best if you go into it not knowing quite as much. But I love it because they're quirky characters. There's this 104-year-old woman who befriends an 11-year-old boy, and he's just kind of a quirky boy, and he is trying to get his Boy Scout badge, so he comes and helps her like in her yard every Saturday, or he refills her bird feeders, stuff like that. And then one day he does not show up, and a little bit after that his dad shows up for him, and the dad was kind of estranged with his son, and I don't want to give too much away, but it's a really heartwarming. I don't know if you've read, well, I know you have, Hilary, but the audience, if you've read A Man Called Ove, I love stories where like older characters befriend younger characters and like those unlikely friendships. This is very much one of those stories, and all the way around, not like the boy and the woman, but the dad and the woman, and then how the dad kind of gets to know his son in a different way. It's just a sweet story. It's heartwarming. And that's The One in a Million Boy by Monica Wood on Hoopla.
That sounds really good. I need to read that one next. So my next pick is a little bit lighter than the others that I've picked so far. It is called Husband Material by Emily Belden. It's a fun, upbeat, romantic comedy about 29-year-old Charlotte, who lives in Los Angeles. She works in social media, and she has a secret that she keeps from everybody around her. And because she keeps this secret pretty close to her, that means that she also keeps most people at arm's length. Even her roommate, who she has been living with for 4 years, she doesn't know her very well. Then one day, out of the blue, her secret basically shows up on her doorstep, and makes it very tricky for her to continue to hide this fact about herself. So her life kind of gets turned upside down. Enter Brian, a person from her past, and her life just gets more complicated, and she's not really very happy about it. But this is a sweet romance. It was nice, easy read. It would be good for fans of Sophie Kinsella. It does have some funny moments in it, and the audiobook is available on Hoopla.
Awesome. That sounds good. So my next, actually, I kind of am going to do 3 in 1. These are a little bit different. They aren't really fiction at all. Well, they're not fiction. So I decided to highlight some cookbooks that you can get on Hoopla, because I feel like e-cookbooks are underrated. But we're all at home. I feel like many of us are cooking more than we normally do, or kind of forced to. And so I am showing you some that I happen to also have in hard copy, just because they're mine, but these are some of my favorites. And you will recognize the people, I'm sure, but you may not know that these are available on Hoopla. The first one's Magnolia Table by Joanna Gaines. And I feel like her cooking is just like, it's nothing weird. You have, the ingredients here at home. My favorite recipe that I've baked the most out of here is her banana bread recipe. And she does it differently, like in a square pan instead of in like a loaf pan. If you're not a baker, that may not mean much to you, but I was like, that's different. It's really delicious. I added chocolate chips instead of nuts, but I just think it's a really beautiful cookbook. And so it's fun to look at the pictures and stuff. And then the other 2 that are available on Hoopla are 2 of the Pioneer Woman cookbooks. And again, just, I like her cooking because it's just kind of like comfort food and just stuff you have at home already. The one I bookmarked in here that I make all the time is her fried rice, which it's listed pork chops with pineapple fried rice. But I've made the pork chops and they're good, but I just make the fried rice like when I make stir fry, and I leave out the pineapple part, but it's just really easy and delicious. I love so much of her stuff. I have all her cookbooks. So, don't bypass the cookbook section of our, e-reader services, because I'm sure we're all like looking for new recipes and start cooking more. And those are some good places to get fresh ideas, just to find cookbooks on our downloadable services. So those are some of my unconventional suggestions.
Oh, that's a really good idea. I didn't think about looking for cookbooks on those formats. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
So my next pick, or my last one, is Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson. This is my young adult pick. I did have to throw one in since that's my main area of the library. But I do think that this one will have some adult appeal also. I certainly enjoyed it. It is a murder mystery that takes place at an elite boarding school in Vermont. The school is also pretty eccentric, and it's called Ellingham Academy. The main character, Stevie Bell, is determined to go to this academy, and she is very, very happy when she gets accepted. And her main goal while she is there is to solve the mystery of the century. So in the 1930s, the wife and daughter of Robert Ellingham, who was the founder of the academy, disappeared, and they were never found. And everyone has been speculating and guessing ever since. What happened to them? Where did they go? Were they kidnapped? It is full of suspense, and the setting makes it very atmospheric. You never know who to trust. Stevie is very intelligent and tenacious, and she is determined to hone her detective skills that she has been working on by reading Agatha Christie novels and watching old detective shows. But she actually does kind of know her stuff. And one thing that I enjoyed about this book is that it bounces back and forth from the 1930s and present day. So we get a glimpse of what was actually happening when this mystery was unfolding. But we don't necessarily, so we may see things that Stevie doesn't know yet, but we still don't have all the pieces to put it together. And I know that sometimes like bouncing back and forth in time like that can make a book feel kind of choppy, but the author handles it with a lot of skill, and it actually just heightens the suspense in this book. And this is actually a trilogy. The first book does end on kind of a cliffhanger, but all three of these books are available on Hoopla, and the series as a whole just does not lose steam. So it's a really interesting one if you want to kind of get into a series right now. And it's also, and it's also one of my very favorite narrators, Kate Rudd, narrates those. So
okay, I'm definitely putting that on my TBR. I love past and present timelines, and like with the mystery, and I haven't read a YA book in a while, so that.
Oh yes, so this is your next read.
Okay, awesome. Well, you said that was your last one? Mm-hmm. Okay, and I am done with mine too. So, thanks for joining me, Hilary.
Yes, thanks.
Actually, do you want to just run through the names of yours really one more time?
Yep. So my picks were The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle by Stuart Turton, Heartstone, all one word, by L. Catherine White, Husband Material by Emily Belden, and Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson.
Okay. And mine were And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie, The One in a Million Boy by Monica Wood, and then the cookbooks, Magnolia Table by Joanna Gaines, and then the Dinner Time Cookbook by the Pioneer Woman or Ree Drummond, and also her Come and Get It cookbook. Those are the two of hers that are on, by Ree Drummond. Those are the two of hers that are on Hoopla. I think all of mine were from Hoopla. So, yeah. And I'm going to try, and if I did this the way I'm hoping, it should be in one way or another recorded, and I can post it also to Facebook, because last time I had some technical difficulties. And I'm also hoping to like make a post of like the covers just to kind of recap for people. So, yeah. So, anyway, thank you, Hilary. And thanks everyone who joined us. Yes. And we'll see you guys. Have a good weekend.
Bye.